Okay, so welcome everybody to this week's call, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to here, because this space is a very valued space for all of us, because we come here to learn. And we learn from Dr. Joseph Ahrens, a dual-nominated Nobel Prize scientist, and comes with a lot of wealth of knowledge. And it is a privilege to be here, because there are lots of things through our lives that we often ask ourselves, I wonder about this, or what could I do about that? Well, today's call is all about that. Like, we're here to have a quiz, and we invite you to ask those questions. I will say, please try to be mindful that we are staying compliant. So we're not here to make claims to heal, cure, and or mitigate any disease. So if we are going to be talking about a specific product, or we're going to be speaking about a disease, please do not put the same into the same topics into the same sentence. Try and keep them separate. But we can talk about basically anything that you would like to, that you think that Dr. Ahrens is going to be able to provide you an opinion with. So firstly, Dr. Ahrens, how are you, and what's been happening for you this week?
Well, I'm pretty good. This actually was kind of a tough week. I think, as many of us know, we've lost some friends here. I also am having a really rough time with my best friend who's got cancer. And it just reminds me that good health is precious. And we don't know when our life is going to end. It could be tonight, in the morning, or 30, 50 years from now. The point is, we've got to live every day the best we can. And that means we have to take the information of good health and make our life count for something. And I challenge everyone here to, if they know something, if they know anything about good health, they need to spread the word to their neighbors. That's, whenever it comes time for me to go, that's what I want on my tombstone. Hey, I tried to spread the word about good health. I did the best I could. So I'm doing pretty good with those caveats. I want to spread the word on this website. We need to open it up to the world and get the word out about good health, which is basically diet and exercise. Diet and exercise.
Yeah, Dr. Ahrens, and you are right. Like, some of us have known, we have lost some really valuable people this week, and it's been a tough week. And it does make you, one of the mottos that I love to live by is spreading hope and giving life a smile, because we need to keep looking forward and keep praying to God that we're doing the best that we possibly can. So, Dr. Ahrens, I've got a message here, and I will a question from Jim, because I know his Wi-Fi is not so great, but he has been hearing for a long time how horrible vegetable oils and seed oils are for health. Are you able to provide your opinion on this and what your thoughts are, please?
Yeah, I sure can. Well, that's actually right. In general, these vegetable seed oils are not very good for you. It's always, though, you got to take it with a grain of salt, not too much salt, but a grain of salt. You got to think about how much you are using. And a lot of times, if you think you've got a whole meal, a large meal, and you're cooking this or that, and you add just a little oil for either consistency, flavoring, to stick flour on something, or you're frying something lightly, it really doesn't make that much of a difference, truthfully. Now, if you're deep frying something in a particular oil, yes, you're going to get a whole lot more of that in you. Even then, you're only going to get maybe a half a tablespoon, a couple of mils. And I want to give information on this site that's real. It's not like an alarmist and, oh, you got to stay completely away from this, stay completely away from that. And the first thing you know, you can't even eat anything. So I'm not that of an alarmist. Now, yes, if you have opportunity to avoid certain oils or anything that's bad for you, go ahead and do it. Don't be so tight, though. It binds you up and you can't live your life. But I will tell you, first of all, before anything else, hydrogenated vegetable oils. This is basically Crisco. That's the most number one brand in the world. Crisco, the white stuff. It's foamy. It's white at room temperature. It tastes fantastic. This is why most French fries taste so good, you know, because they're cooked in this hydrogenated vegetable oil. But this stuff is a poison. I've said several times, and I'll say it tonight, that the people who invented that stuff, all right, I'll give them a pass because they didn't know the health detriments. But after a couple of decades, we know this stuff will kill you. It'll give you a heart attack. And I don't come down that hard on many things, but this one I do. There is no place in a human diet, or actually any animal, for hydrogenated vegetable oil, which is a fake product. It does not occur naturally. You take a vegetable oil, and actually any oil, and then you bubble hydrogen through it, and it saturates this oil, and it tastes fantastic, and it is a poison. Avoid hydrogenated vegetable oil, and it hides in everything. I like peanut butter. I really like peanut butter. That's one of my snacks. You know, 11 o'clock, I get up, I've been reading, maybe watching a little TV, going, I just take a couple of mil, a tablespoon of peanut butter, and then fight it off the roof from my mouth. You know, you eat that stuff, and then you're fighting it for like 5 minutes. Well, I looked at that, and it's a major brand. It's actually Jif Crunchy. And I got to thinking, because somebody asked me this question recently about these, said peanut butter was no good for you. And I said, well, that's not quite true. And I went in there and looked at it, and doggone it, after peanuts, Jif has hydrogenated vegetable oil. I mean, they've mixed it in with poison, and it tastes great. But actually, there are many other peanut butters that do not have hydrogenated vegetable oil. Hydrogenated vegetable oil is cheap, and it tastes good, but it will kill you. Okay, that's about hydrogenated vegetable oil. And I don't care where that vegetable oil comes from. It could be even avocado oil. It could be any type of oil. But if it's been hydrogenated, it's poison. So avoid that, number one. Number two, you can go down oils made from seeds, and some of them are good and some are bad. I think 80% of them are bad. So I just really try to avoid the oil from vegetable seeds, because I can't remember which is which unless I used to go to the supermarket with actually a little list on my phone to say, okay, I can buy this, I can buy that. I don't want to live like that. There's plenty of very, very good oils, and I'll tell you what those are in just a moment. But you need to avoid most of these oils. And some of them are kind of good. Some of them are quite a bit bad, and don't worry about it. Don't use these vegetable oils. Forget these vegetable oils. Here's what you ought to use. Coconut oil. Really simple. It used to be very expensive, but now it's getting really cheap, and most of you have access to a Walmart. It's dirt cheap, really cheap now, and it's extremely good for you. It does not impart a coconut flavor unless it's a real cheap one. The ones that are just, unless they're so cheap, it's like 50 cents for a gallon. Those are going to smell like coconut, and they're not going to be very good. But the ones that are reasonably priced and not too expensive, they will not impart a coconut flavor to your food. They're light oils. They have a good smoke point. That means they don't burn up before you start frying things. You can put them on salads. They are great to even put on your skin. We talked a couple of weeks ago about hydration of your skin. Coconut oil is fantastic. And the reason is because it has a couple of these acids that are extremely good heart protective for you. They really protect your heart. Other than some oils like the hydrogenated vegetable oil will kill you basically through a heart attack. Coconut oil is very good for you, very healthy. You can put it all over your skin, put it in your salads. All right, number two, avocado oil. Now that's usually a little bit more expensive, but avocado oil is high in omega-3s. Everyone's heard about that, I hope, omega-3. So in fish, the oils that we want out of fish is omega-3. Now, there's a little bit of confusion there because there's omega-3 and there's omega-6. You don't have to know what that it means exactly, but we want a high ratio between omega-3 and omega-6. And most fish oils are high in omega-3. This is why fish is so good for you. Most fish is so good for you. Omega-3s. You can also get omega-3s from linseed oil. Linseed oil. Now that's not a vegetable oil, but it is from a seed. Linseed oil also has omega-3. If you don't like that fishy flavor that a lot of the fish oils come with, you can use linseed oil. Linseed oil, high in omega-3, and avocado oil, high in omega-3. So if you'll stay away from those seed oils, even though they're cheap, like canola, and especially corn oil is not very good for you either. It's cheap, but there's no reason to not use a coconut oil because it is also quite economical and it's good for you. And I know you can get it in Walmart. That means it's available everywhere. And stay away from hydrogenated vegetable oil. Stay away from most seeded oils because you don't know which ones are which. When you start looking at some of these canola oil, they're not even 100% canola oil. They've got other seeds in there. Stay away from anything that's a soybean oil. And I tell you what, don't eat soybean products. Do not eat tofu. People say, oh, I'm being healthy and I'm going to avoid red meat. I'm going to eat tofu. Well, tofu is a good source of protein, but it also has some anti-nutrients in it. Actually, they come with a little trace bit of poison. Now, I'm not going to go overboard about that. Okay, you can take tofu, but I avoid soybean products because I don't have to worry about that. I actually do eat meat, but I eat a lot of fish. So I get my omega-3s. And when I fry stuff, I fry it in coconut oil. And when I put salads, I use avocado oil or extra virgin olive oil. There's another high omega-3, extra virgin olive oil, EVOO. So yes, avoid those seeds, those oils from seeds. Absolutely avoid hydrogenated vegetable oil. Avoid that. It is a death. It's a poison. You might as well go ahead and just go out and eat roach killer. And yes, avocado oil. Yes, or olive oil. Absolutely olive oil. Any of the fish oils, most of the fish oils. If you don't like that, do linseed oil. Cook in coconut oil. Now, if you need a really high temperature oil, smokeless, you really got to want to crank something up like 600 degrees Fahrenheit and just hit it, then you can use like grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is fantastic for you. It also contains a lot of flavonoids. And if you're on this channel much, we love flavonoids. So grapeseed oil has lots of flavonoids. Okay, so one more time and we'll quit this one. Grapeseed oil, avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, and avoid the hydrogenated oils and avoid most seeded oils. Okay, that's it.
Well, Jim, I think you got an answer, which is great. So thank you, Dr. Ahrens. It gives it a really good, thorough overview on it. And I think that, Warren, you've got a question. Is that correct? If you'd like to unmute yourself.
Yes. I have struggled sharing the refined sugars. I don't quite understand them. And of course, my age group, I'm in a senior age group, and I was talking to a lady the other day about mashed potatoes. And she informed me, she says she doesn't use any sugar in her mashed potatoes. And so I didn't know quite how to answer that. So she thought I was kind of foolish for saying that the mashed potatoes had a lot of refined sugars into it. And I don't even know where it begins at. Is it a raw potato? Is it basically refined sugars, or how does it happen? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I really do understand the question exactly because I get that asked quite often. So it is technically not, a potato is not a refined sugar, but it is close as you can get to it. So let's review this here. So we have carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are all sugars. That's what a carbohydrate is. Carbohydrate, they thought it used to mean carbon and water together, carbohydrate, but it's actually sugar. And in this group, you've got sugars that you cannot digest. No, humans cannot digest. And this is what we call, the filler, the things like pulp in orange juice, that kind of a thing. Metamucil is a really good example. That's a carbohydrate that we cannot digest. It's the roughage part, but it's still a sugar. The difference is the way it's put together. Our bodies cannot unlock it, and we cannot use it, and it does not hurt us, and it just fills up our stomach and our digestive tract. It also helps disguise other sugars so we can't attack them so easily. So we really do need that fiber in our body, but they're undigestible. Then the second group of that is a little bit more digestible. They're called resistant starches. Now they're still sugar, but they're put these sugar units together and they don't come away freely. So our body really have to work on them to get those apart. And so once they get them apart, they're just like glucose. They're straight sugar. They're just like refined sugar, and they shoot right into your bloodstream. But they're resistant starch. Our body cannot attack them very easily. They are very good starch, very good source of energy. Then we have regular starch. It's not resistant, the regular starch. And this stuff is just like pure sugar, the stuff you've got on your table. The sucrose, it's even more sugar than that, because the stuff on the table is 2 units. One is glucose and one is fructose, and they're stuck together in a dimer. That's sucrose. That's the white stuff on your table. That comes out of sugar cane, and it comes out of sugar beets. That's the only place we get it. And when your body takes that refined sugar, that sucrose, into your body, immediately before it even gets into your stomach, it comes apart, and it's just like pure refined sugar itself. So you got the stuff on the table. It's processed sugar, and but it is stuck together, but it's stuck so lightly that as soon as you put it in your mouth, it comes apart and goes right into your bloodstream. And then we've got the most refined of sugars, and that'd be straight glucose. That's the stuff you get when you go into the hospital and they drip it into the little bag. That's as pure as you get. That is refined double, triple, quadruple sugars. But so that's the one you don't ever want to get that unless you're in a hospital and you're being monitored. Number 2 is the table sugar. It's right close to it. You take that in, it immediately goes in, turns into that glucose. And then you have starch, which is a little bit more tougher for you to open up and dissolve, but not much. The difference is like 90%. So pure table sugar, if you want to use that, well, let's go back. The stuff that you drip into your blood in the hospital, let's call that 100%. Goes into your bloodstream immediately, no resistance whatsoever. Hell, it's a needle going to your vein. Of course, there's no resistance. Then you go to the sucrose, the table sugar. Or how fast does it get into your body? 98. Compared to the pure glucose with a needle in your vein, it's 98. All right, let's go to then starch. A little more tougher to digest, but not much. This starch is what's in bread, flour, pasta. It's just sugar, but it's resistant, and you can see it. It looks like a noodle. It is a noodle. Or rice. What does that compare to pure glucose in a needle in your bloodstream? About 89%. It is not that much different. And then you've got the starch that's in things like rice and potatoes. Now, 500 years ago, our potatoes were not the potatoes they are today. They had more resistant starch in them. So if you remember, I just talked about this starch does not come apart easily, and you eat that and it's not so bad for you. Well, there's very little resistant starch in the potatoes that you buy today. Now, if you go to Peru and buy some of these wild potatoes, they'll be the old-fashioned type. In fact, you can sometimes see them in the store. There'll be these small purple and red little potatoes. Those are more like the natural old-timey potatoes of 200 or 300, 400, 500 years ago. But the ones, Idaho, the wonderful ones, the russets, the Klondikes, the Dutch whites, they don't have much resistant starch anymore. They're actually very close to eating a donut. I'm not joking. So how do we compare that? All right, remember glucose, 100%, a needle in your vein. Okay, then you go to table sugar. How much that? Well, 98%. Okay, what about then a piece of bread? What about that? Oh, now we're like 92. What about a potato in today? Well, 88, 89. It's not much different. And that is the sugar. It's not that you put the white stuff in your potatoes. The potato itself is the sugar. The potato itself is the sugar. So you know what? I enjoy potato quite often. I mean, once a week, I'll eat a potato, either slice it up or bake it or something. I try to stay to the 80-20 rule. I'm a good boy 80% of the time, 20% I eat some ice cream. That's because I want to live. I don't want to be in jail the rest of my life. So I do the 80-20. So I will have a potato maybe once a week. I don't ever eat any French fries, almost never. Except if you take me out to McDonald's and I'll order a salad while you get a hamburger and fries and a Coke, I'm going to have a healthy salad. But while I'm doing that, I will steal your French fries, by the way. I just want to let you know that so nobody's looking. I hope that answered the question.
Absolutely. And he's true. He does steal your food. So
when you put it in your mouth, is that when it turns into, does the saliva turn?
Yeah, you know, the saliva, you can feel it in your cheeks. You put like a potato chip, put a potato chip in your mouth, you can feel it. The saliva, that enzyme is in your spit, in your saliva. It starts immediately. It's called amylase, AMYLASE. And then the second place that we get amylase in your pancreas. So the first hit's right in your mouth. By the time it gets to your stomach, it's already fallen apart. It's actually turned into that table sugar, the potato or the cracker. Have you ever done that? Take a saltine cracker, the most plain cracker you can get. I think they still make them. And eat that and just chew it for a while. It starts tasting sweet almost immediately, right? You start, and then more and more saliva, it starts tasting, it's already right in your mouth, turning into regular old table sugar. It just doesn't happen to taste sweet to our tongue. The potato and the rice, they don't taste extra sweet, but your body doesn't care about that. As soon as it gets to your stomach, it's like you had just already eaten a loaf of bread. Seriously. Have you thought about that? A potato, you could take a whole loaf of bread, white bread, and smash it down to the size of a potato. You know you could. It's like eating a loaf of bread.
And that's not good. Bread is not good. Okay, so that's great, Dr. Ahrens, and thank you, Warren, for asking that question. So Karen, would you like to unmute yourself? Because I know you've got a question as well, please.
I have a question because I'm on this site for special needs, but this one person was writing, and a lot of people have written, have asked this question just to the whole group. And they have a teenage special needs child with intellectual disorder, autism, which we've talked about, but mood disorder. And she is getting beat up by this particular student when she's driving, either getting hit in the head while she's driving or deep scratches. And I've heard a lot of people talk about that with their child. And so there's nothing that they can really do, because if they do anything, they can get in trouble. So they're looking at what can they do to help their child not to have these disorders. And this person also fights with their siblings, but there's a bunch of beating up and scratching the parents that is going on, not only with them, but with other people who have adult special needs children. And so the only thing I said was that my son was on a flavonoid. They can find the information, particular places, and that this could be a help to them. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, you know, that's a real question close to my heart. I've got somebody in my family I got two people in my family like that. And I'll tell you, it's not just flavonoids, so just what we talked about. You need to get off of refined carbs. Somebody that has these type of behavioral disorders, I'll put my professional career on the line. If you will go down as close as you can to 0 carbs, and you still can't do it because there's carbs even in red meat. Come on, there's glucose in animals. So even if you're a vegetarian and you try to avoid carbs, you're still going to get carbs. But try to be as 0 carb, low carb as possible. And you'll see most of these mood disorders go away, but greatly lessen. I mean, I'd love to just tell you who, let's just say it's 2 extremely close relatives of mine. And I don't want to give it away. So I'll just say the relative that I have did her own research independent of me and what I'm doing, because her husband was crazy. He was off the charts. It was tough. You know, sorry for saying crazy. I'll probably get a lot of negative stuff on that. But they couldn't live together. The guy was violent to his children. And she started just investigating and found out, oh, there was some help here or there. And she went on to a 0 extreme restriction carb diet for the whole family, and it got him under control. Now, they could not maintain that. I'm talking about severe 0 carb. And even then, as I said, you can't go to 0 because you always get carbs from somewhere. But because she knew she couldn't go to 0, where she tried herself to do 0, and so she's probably coming out with maybe 5 grams of carbs a day per person. You know, she did all the stuff we don't like to do. Cauliflower rice, you know, who wants that? I don't want it. I want real rice with my gravy. But she did the cauliflower rice, and she get all these innovative ways to serve food to her family. Got on these, and thankfully for the web, you know, you can get on these low carb deals if people are having these issues, and you can share recipes. And she had these energy bombs, you know, that were really actually delightful without sugar, based on more like fats. Okay, that's one thing. So that's the first thing I will tell you to do. Number 2, yes, you absolutely got to load up with flavonoids. We learned just this last month that flavonoids not only help regulate the neurological signals between the brain and the muscles, and help with mood by themselves, because they help the conduction of those signals down through the wires, the nerves. But they also help with the gut brain highway. Remember that highway we were talking about? And that they absolutely slow down the propensity if someone have these issues. So this is not a cure-all. I don't want to say that. You've got to, if you've got a broken arm, it's a broken arm. I don't care how much vitamin C you take, your broken arm is still going to be there. But the vitamins can help you heal better, right? So you've got this genetic propensity, DNA, that you may have an issue with the autism or manic depressive disorder. It's there. But if you take flavonoids, the dark stuff, I'm telling you, take it, the darker the better. It will absolutely lessen the expression, the symptoms of that underlying disorder. And if you couple that with a low carb diet, you'll be amazed. That's why I can't say we're going to cure any diseases, but we need to have, Jackie, we need to get a couple more people in here and have another forum on this, because this is a big deal. And it's not just about autism, that spectrum. It's about that whole concept. It doesn't matter about autism. It's the brain and the gut highway. And if your stomach is good, your digestive tract is happy, and those gut biota are happy, they send those positive signals to your brain, and it keeps you from going in those triggers if you happen to be like a manic depressive or happen to be one on the autistic spectrum. So I'm very encouraged by this, because I've seen it happen with my own eyes. Besides, I'm a physiologist and I understand how it works. I've seen it happen with my own relatives. And so you're never going to be able to talk to an MD or a psychologist, psychiatrist about this, because what can they prescribe? I mean, there's nothing here to prescribe. It's just have a good diet. So You just have to take this into your own hands. Do a low carb, and probably they won't like that low carb diet. They won't like it because everybody wants those French fries.
Dr. Ahrens, it's really interesting what you're saying about it, because a mutual friend of many of us on here have been speaking to her this week, her and her daughter Eileen Durham and Abby, and we were touching base for a particular reason. But I did ask her, how's Trainer going, and what's happening for him, and she was just telling me, like, he is in the autistic spectrum, and we will try and get her on. She's been pretty busy with life. But it's just really heartwarming to hear her. You could hear it through, it was a FaceTime anyway, and talking to Abby, her daughter, as well. Now, before Trainer started with these flavonoids, Eileen couldn't let her children live in the same house together because Trainer was violent towards Abby. And if you go back through Dr. Ahrens' YouTube, you will find the recording on Eileen Durham about this. Like, she's a nurse, a specialist nurse, so she knows what she's talking about as well, and has a huge belief system because she's seen the changes that have happened with Trey. But what she was saying to me was just how much of a difference that it's made for him, because her daughter has now gone into nursing. She's got a nursing degree, so she's really excited about that. But Trey's gone into the community, and when I say into the community, he's been able to be a part of the family unit again, which has been really just so heartwarming for her. And he's been able to do activities with other children as well, whilst they're not children, he's a young man now, adults. But he's able to manage to do that because like his brain, we were talking about it on the call previously, it's like you were saying, Dr. Ahrens, it's like a highway, it's like a hamster wheel. It just keeps going and going and going, and they can't slow down their thought patterns. So that intervention of putting a stop or breaking that link, and they've got time to actually think a little bit more clearly or process things better. His life, just listening to his mum, has just changed so much. And it was really, we'll get her back on here to talk about Trey, because it's just been remarkable watching that young man, which is very similar to what your question was, Karen. It's just a matter of looking at how much the benefits of the food, the flavonoids, what Dr. Ahrens was saying, plus the supplements that have flavonoids in them as well. So has anyone else got any questions? Because we are heading towards a little bit over the half an hour. Todd, do you have one?
Yeah.
or Ron?
Well,
No?
I think that we're actually well over the half an hour. So look, let's just continue this next week, because I feel there's pin-up questions here. And so we can't do any justice to the ones come. So let's do the continue next week, and I will be here and look forward to that.
All right then, Dr. Ahrens, thank you. So next week, everybody, we'll do an open quiz again, because it seems, there's lots of questions that we think of whilst we're on these calls. So join us. Please invite people to this, because they may have questions that they may want answered too. So Dr. Ahrens, thank you so much for providing your personal opinion. And again, this is Dr. Ahrens' own personal opinion, and we thank each and every one of you, and we hope you have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week. So thank you so much.